What if your next life doesn't begin after death, but begins with your next decision? Right now, at this very moment, you're planting the seeds of your future. Not just for tomorrow, or next year, but for the next life. Every word you speak, every choice you make, every intention you hold, it all becomes karma. And karma doesn't forget. The Buddha taught that we don't have to wait for some distant heaven or punishment. Heaven and hell begin inside your mind, right now, with your thoughts, your actions, your choices. So if your next life truly begins now, what kind of life do you want to create? Let's walk the Buddha's path, together, toward right action, deep peace, and a future worth living. If your next life truly begins right now, in this very moment, then every breath you take, every choice you make, matters. That's not just a poetic idea. According to the Buddha, the law of karma means every action of body, speech, and mind becomes a seed. That seed may sprout in this life, or in the next. But here's the important truth. The quality of your future, whether it's peaceful or painful, elevated or burdened, depends on the actions you're taking right now. That's why this moment is so precious. Not because of what you have, but because of what you can choose. The Buddha called this Chan Nyep, right action. It's one part of the Eightfold Path, and it means living in a way that's not just good, but wise, not just moral, but deeply aware. When we act with right intention and right action, we're not just doing the right thing because someone told us to. We're aligning our actions with the truth of the universe. We're choosing to plant seeds of peace, instead of seeds of suffering. Now maybe you're wondering, what does that really mean? How does something like kindness or cruelty carry forward into another lifetime? To understand that, we have to see beyond this one body, this one name, this one brief identity. We are not just this skin and bone. We are a stream of consciousness, a flowing current of mental, emotional, and spiritual patterns, and that stream doesn't stop when the body dies. It continues, carrying with it everything we've cultivated, everything we've suppressed, everything we've done. That's why your next life begins now. Because now is when you are shaping the trajectory of that stream. Imagine your life as a river. If you throw a rock into it, the ripples don't just stop. They keep moving. They affect the direction and texture of the water far downstream. The same is true for our actions. They leave impressions, vasanas, on our consciousness. And those impressions carry forward, sometimes into the next hour, sometimes into the next life. This is not a matter of belief, it's a law of nature. Just as gravity doesn't care whether you believe in it, karma doesn't require your faith. It simply operates. Cause and effect, action and consequence. So let me ask you, what are you choosing right now? Because whether you realize it or not, you are already creating your future. Not someday, not when you're older, not after death, but now, in this very breath, with your thoughts, with your reactions, with your habits. And here's something powerful. No matter where you've been, no matter what you've done, you can begin again. The past doesn't define your future unless you keep repeating it. The Buddha said, "It is never too late to start again." Drop by drop, the water pot is filled. One kind thought, one honest word, one compassionate act, that is a drop, and another, and slowly, your life changes, your next life changes. But let's be honest, in the modern world, it's easy to forget this. We live in a culture of speed, consumption, competition. Everything is urgent. Everyone is chasing something. And in that chase, we often compromise our integrity. We lie to feel safe. We hurt to protect our ego. We numb ourselves to avoid discomfort. The Buddha understood this. That's why he didn't just say, "Do good." He gave us the path to see clearly, to understand deeply, to choose wisely. Right action is not about blind obedience to rules. It's about aligning your actions with the Dharma, with the truth. And the truth is simple. What you do matters. Not just for others, but for your own heart, for your own peace, for your own future. Let's reflect for a moment. Think back to your day. What was the quality of your actions? Were they rushed, reactive, defensive, or were they mindful, kind, rooted in wisdom? Did you offer peace, or take it away? This is not about guilt. It's about awareness. Because the moment you become aware, you become free. The moment you see clearly, you can choose differently. You can shift the direction of your life, even if just by 1 degree. And that 1 degree can mean everything in the long journey of rebirth. Maybe no one told you before, but your life is sacred. Every moment, a chance to rise. Every choice, a doorway. You are not trapped in your past karma. You are not sentenced by your circumstances. You are empowered, right now, to create karma of clarity, compassion, and courage. Let's take a breath together. Feel your body. Feel the simplicity of this moment. You're alive. You're listening. You're awake enough to ask, how can I live better? How can I act wisely? How can I begin my next life, right now? That's the path of the Buddha. It doesn't begin after death. It begins with this thought, this intention, this action. As we move forward in this teaching, we'll explore what the Buddha meant by right action, how karma truly works, and how you can live in a way that brings peace not just to your next life, but to this one. But before we go on, just ask yourself gently, if my next life starts now, what kind of life am I preparing? And more importantly, am I ready to begin it with awareness, with kindness, with courage? Let's walk this path together. Let's begin again, here, now. In the last part, we opened a doorway, a simple but powerful truth. Your next life begins not after death, but with your next choice, your next thought, your next action. Now let's go deeper. Let's look at what truly powers this cycle of rebirth, of becoming, of continuation. That force is karma. In the West, karma is often misunderstood as some kind of cosmic punishment or reward system. People say things like, oh, that's karma catching up to him, or, she must have good karma. But the Buddha taught something far more subtle, and far more powerful. Karma doesn't mean fate. Karma means action, and not just the action itself, but the intention behind it. In Buddhism, intention is everything. You see, the Buddha didn't teach that we are punished for our actions. He said we are punished by our actions. Likewise, we are not rewarded for doing good. We are transformed by the goodness itself. When you act with anger, you become more angry. When you act with kindness, your mind softens and becomes more open. You don't have to wait for some external judgment. The result is already in motion. Let's pause and reflect on that. The moment you speak with cruelty, something in you tightens. A shadow appears. It might feel powerful in that moment, but it leaves behind residue on your mind, on your heart. And when you lie, or cheat, or act out of selfishness, you might get what you want temporarily. But what grows in you is distrust, shame, disconnection. Now think of the opposite. When you speak with love, when you offer help without expecting anything in return, when you forgive someone who hurt you, not because they deserve it, but because you're done carrying the weight, what arises in you? Peace, lightness, warmth. That is karma too. So karma is not some delayed cosmic justice. It's an immediate law of cause and effect. A mental, moral, and spiritual physics. You don't need to wait until the next life to feel its impact. You are already feeling it. But here's the thing. Most karma is habitual. Most of our daily actions come from patterns, not awareness. We get triggered. We react. We fall into the same loops of anger, fear, craving, and every time we repeat the same reaction, we reinforce it. That's how karma builds momentum. The Buddha compared this to a wheel turning. With every push, it spins faster. The longer we're on the wheel, the harder it is to jump off. That's samsara, the endless cycle of suffering. Not because life is inherently painful, but because we keep creating the same causes. But karma can be changed. That's the beauty of this path. You are not bound by your past. The Buddha didn't just come to explain suffering, he came to show the way out. And that way out begins with awareness. Imagine this. You're walking in a forest, and every time you take a step, a seed falls from your pocket. You don't notice at first. Days later, you return and find strange plants growing, some with thorns, others with fruit, and you think, where did this come from? It came from you. Your thoughts are seeds. Your words are seeds. Your actions are seeds. The mind is the soil. And life is the field. So what are you planting today? This question is not meant to cause guilt, it's meant to awaken responsibility. Not the heavy kind, where you blame yourself for everything, but the empowered kind, where you realize, you have choice. You have power. You are the gardener of your own future. The Buddha said, "Whatever I do, for good or for ill, to that I will be the heir." That's not scary, it's sacred. It means no one else is writing your destiny. Not a god, not fate, not your parents or your past. Just you. And every moment, you are writing a new line. Now, let's go even further. Let's explore how karma connects to rebirth. Many people ask, how does karma follow you if the body dies? That's a profound question, and Buddhism answers it not by talking about a fixed soul, but about continuity. You see, Buddhism doesn't teach an eternal self. It teaches a stream of becoming, a current of consciousness that carries the imprint of all actions. Thoughts, tendencies. It's like lighting one candle from another. The flame continues, even though the wax is different. When the body dies, the stream continues. And what fuels that stream, what shapes where it flows next, is karma. Not all karma leads to immediate rebirth. Some seeds are dormant, some ripen quickly, some take lifetimes, but none are ever lost. Every intention sown in the mind has a trajectory. And unless you uproot that tendency through mindfulness and wisdom, it will shape your next experience. Let's bring this home with a simple story. The Buddha once told of two farmers. Both go out to their fields each day. One sows weeds, one sows rice. Day by day, they forget what they've planted. They go about their lives. But when the rains come, and the soil is nourished, the truth emerges. One field grows food, the other grows pain. Our mind is that field, and karma is the rain. So again we ask, what are you planting? Some people hear all this and feel overwhelmed. I've already made so many mistakes. I've already created so much bad karma. But the Buddha didn't teach despair. He taught liberation. He said, even a murderer, if they turn with sincerity, can change their path. Because intention is what counts. One moment of genuine compassion can outshine 1,000 careless acts. One sincere apology can begin to dissolve years of guilt. One conscious decision can change the course of lifetimes. And this is not fantasy. Science even shows us that our brains are plastic, malleable. Habits can be rewired. Reactions can be softened. Consciousness is fluid. That's what rebirth is really about, not just life after death, but moment-to-moment transformation. So if you're stuck in a cycle of anger, of regret, of addiction, of fear, know this. The wheel only spins because you keep pushing it. Stop, breathe, step aside, start planting different seeds. Because even if the karma of your past brought you pain, the karma you create today can be the bridge out of that suffering. And when you change the quality of your action, you change the direction of your life. This is not idealism. This is Dharma. So today, take this to heart. Watch your mind. Watch your speech. Watch your steps. Ask yourself, before each action, is this planting a seed of peace or a seed of suffering? That awareness alone is enough to begin a revolution inside you. Your next life is already taking shape, not in the sky, not in the afterlife, but in your heart, your habits, your choices. The question is not whether you will be reborn. The question is, into what kind of mind, what kind of life, what kind of path will you be reborn into next? The answer lies in your next action. Now that we've explored how karma shapes our lives, and even our next lives, it's time to ask a deeper question. If every action creates karma, then what kind of action leads to peace, to freedom, to awakening? The Buddha didn't leave us in the dark. He offered a clear, compassionate path. Among the Eightfold Path, the roadmap to liberation, there is one crucial step called right action, or samma kamanta in Pali. Right action is not about following rules blindly. It's not about judgment, guilt, or being holier than thou. It's about aligning your behavior with truth and compassion. It's about doing what leads to peace, not just for others, but for your own heart. Because, as we've seen, your actions don't end when they're done. They echo. They leave imprints, and those imprints form your future. So, what is right action, exactly? The Buddha defined it simply, but profoundly. There are three main areas where right action begins: refrain from killing, refrain from stealing, and refrain from sexual misconduct. At first glance, these might seem like moral commandments, but they are actually deep trainings in compassion, self-awareness, and freedom from suffering. Let's start with the first, not killing. On the surface, this means not taking life, human or animal. But in practice, it goes far beyond that. Right action here means living with ahimsa, non-harming, in body, word, and thought. When you choose not to kill, you choose to respect life. You choose to honor the aliveness in all beings. You stop seeing others as threats, objects, or inconveniences, and you start seeing them as fellow travelers on the path of suffering and awakening. This doesn't only apply to physical violence. How many times have we killed someone's hope with our words, or crushed someone's spirit with our anger, or extinguished our own self-worth with harsh inner talk? Right action asks us to become guardians of life, not just in body, but in energy, presence, intention. Then there's not stealing. This too is more than taking what doesn't belong to you. It's about integrity. It's about honoring boundaries. It's about not exploiting, manipulating, or taking advantage. When you steal, whether it's time, trust, attention, or things, you reinforce a mindset of scarcity and fear. You say, there isn't enough, so you take. But when you live with honesty and generosity, you open to abundance. You become a source of trust. And that, in itself, is powerful karma. Finally, right action includes refraining from sexual misconduct. In the Buddha's time, this meant not engaging in harmful sexual behavior, like adultery, coercion, or exploitation. In today's world, it also means respecting consent, honoring emotional boundaries, and understanding the deep energy that sexuality carries. When sexuality is misused, it creates tremendous suffering, guilt, betrayal, confusion, harm. But when it's approached with mindfulness and care, it can be a path of love, healing, and connection. Right action isn't about suppression. It's about wisdom. It's about knowing what leads to harmony, and what leads to regret, what builds trust, and what breaks it, what opens the heart, and what closes it. These three areas, non-harming, non-stealing, and sexual responsibility, are the foundation. But right action doesn't end there. It includes every way you move in the world, how you treat people, how you spend your money, what you support, what you consume, what you say when no one is listening, what you do when no one is watching. Right action is lived in the small, quiet moments, when you choose not to gossip, when you put down the phone and really listen, when you walk past someone suffering, and stop instead of ignoring. When you say, "I'm sorry," not to be right, but to be real. It's lived in traffic jams and family dinners, in inboxes and arguments, in the checkout line in the hospital room. Every moment is a chance to choose alignment or misalignment, compassion or self-protection, awareness or autopilot. But here's the deeper truth. Right action doesn't begin with action. It begins with intention. Two people can do the same thing, give money, offer help, speak kind words, but if one does it out of ego, or to be praised, and the other does it out of genuine care, the karma is entirely different. That's why in Buddhism, sadhana, intention, is what creates karma. So before you act, ask, what's driving me? Is it fear? Is it craving? Is it love? Right action comes from a calm mind, from a heart that's not clouded by greed, anger, or confusion. That's why meditation is essential. It clears the fog. It reveals your true motivations. And from that clarity, your actions become pure. Now, let's be honest. This isn't always easy. We live in a world that encourages reaction, not reflection. We're told to act fast, speak first, win at any cost. But the Buddha said, in actions, be deliberate. In speech, be truthful. In mind, be calm. Right action isn't something you achieve once and forget. It's a daily practice, a moment-to-moment training. You won't always get it right, but the more you try, the more you see, the more you see, the more you grow. And the more you grow, the more your life changes, not just outwardly, but inwardly. You start to sleep better. You stop carrying so much guilt. Your relationships become deeper. You feel lighter. Because when your actions are aligned with truth, your soul stops fighting itself. There's a peace that comes when you no longer have to hide from your own conscience. There's a strength that comes when your behavior matches your values. That's the gift of right action. It's not about perfection. It's about harmony. About living in a way where nothing within you needs to be hidden or denied. Let's pause here. Think of a time when you acted out of alignment. Maybe you lied, or lashed out, or hurt someone. How did it feel inside your body? What lingered in your mind afterward? Now think of a time when you were honest, kind, or brave, even when it was hard. How did that feel? That's the inner barometer. That's your compass. That's what the Buddha wanted us to trust. Right action isn't imposed from outside. It's awakened from within. So ask yourself, today, where in my life am I not aligned? What action have I been postponing? What habit am I ready to change? You don't need to fix everything at once. Just start with one thing. One honest conversation. One broken promise made right. One gesture of kindness where there was silence. That is right action. And every time you take that step, even if it's small, you begin your next life anew. Because every right action interrupts the momentum of old karma. Every right action is a rebellion against unconscious suffering. Every right action is a declaration. I choose peace. You are not powerless. You are not doomed. You are a creator, a chooser, a mover of worlds. And the world you shape begins now, with how you live, how you love, how you walk this path. Let us walk it together, with care, with courage, with right action. If you've followed along this far, you've already taken an important step. You're no longer living blindly. You're starting to see the connections between your choices and your future. Not just the future of this life, but the possibility of what comes next. In the last part, we explored what the Buddha called right action. We looked at how living with integrity, non-harming, and mindfulness can shift the direction of your current life. But what if we told you that these actions also ripple far beyond this lifetime? The Buddha taught that samsara, the cycle of birth and death, is not some cosmic punishment. It's simply the natural unfolding of causes and conditions. Just as a seed becomes a tree, and a tree drops new seeds, our karma becomes our rebirth. We live, we act, we pass away, and those actions propel us into a new beginning. Not because a god commands it. Not because of chance. But because that's what energy does, it continues. And consciousness, driven by karma, continues. Now pause for a moment. Think about the kind of life you would want to be born into. Would it be one of peace or conflict? Abundance or scarcity? Wisdom or confusion? If you could choose your next beginning, what kind of conditions would you want? What the Buddha revealed is this: you're already choosing it. Not with your words, not with your hopes, but with your actions. Right action isn't just the ethical part of spiritual life. It's the karmic steering wheel. It's the force that determines where you land next. The realm of your next birth, whether human, animal, heavenly, or lower, is shaped directly by the moral quality of your deeds. Now, this may be difficult to grasp, especially for those raised in Western frameworks, where death is often seen as an endpoint, or where morality is dictated by divine judgment. But in the Buddhist view, judgment is not external, it's internal, it's energetic, it's mathematical. The mind stream, this continuous thread of consciousness, retains everything. Every unspoken motive, every hidden act, every loving or hateful moment. And when the body dissolves, what you carry is not your possessions or titles, but your mental imprints. The Tibetan masters describe death as the moment when everything you've ever ignored in yourself comes flooding back. The illusions drop, the truth remains, your karma becomes visible, raw, direct, unfiltered, and from that, a new life is shaped. But here's the key: that shaping doesn't begin at death. It begins right now. So let's bring this down to earth. Let's make it real. Say you practice kindness, not because someone's watching, but because it feels true. You choose not to hurt others. Even when it's easier, you speak honestly. Even when lying might benefit you. You control your impulses, even when your desires scream otherwise. Those moments don't disappear. They form your inner world. And when the time comes for rebirth, the weight of that virtue lifts you. It becomes your momentum upward. Likewise, if you live in deception, aggression, or manipulation, that also stays. It doesn't vanish when your heart stops beating. It follows, not as punishment, but as momentum. Your state of mind at death is the doorway, and your karma is the direction you walk through it. So the practice becomes simple, though not always easy. Live in such a way that, if you died tonight, your mind would be light, your conscience would be clear, your heart would be steady. The Buddha once said, "Whatever a person frequently thinks and reflects upon, that will become the inclination of their mind. That inclination, those habits, determine your next form." Let's imagine two scenarios. One person lives a life of selfishness. They justify harm. They dismiss compassion. Their heart grows cold. Their mind grows restless. When death arrives, fear arises. Regret follows. Their mind grasps at anything, clings, contracts, panics. That mental state, combined with negative karma, leads them to a lower birth, not as punishment, but as continuation. Another person lives with compassion. They serve others. They forgive. They meditate. Their mind grows spacious. Their actions, guided by love, at the moment of death. Their heart is calm. Their mind is clear. They let go with grace. That becomes their bridge into a more favorable rebirth. This isn't fantasy. It's cause and effect. Now you might ask, but what about people who live badly but still seem to succeed in this life? It's a fair question, and the Buddha addressed it directly. He said that karma isn't always immediate. Some seeds take time to sprout. Some ripen in this life, others in the next. And just because someone appears to be thriving now doesn't mean their karma won't ripen later. Conversely, someone may suffer now, but their good deeds are building a future they cannot yet see. So don't measure your life only by present outcomes. Measure it by the quality of your mind, the purity of your motives, the direction of your heart. Because those are the things that will travel with you. And here's the beautiful part. Even a single act of right action can shift your entire trajectory. One moment of sincere forgiveness. One bold choice to break a harmful cycle. One conscious act of generosity. These are not small. They are anchors. They are wings. The Buddha told a story of a dying man who had lived a selfish life. But just before death, he remembered a single moment of kindness from long ago, a meal he gave to a hungry monk. In that memory, gratitude arose. His mind softened, and in that softness, he was reborn into a better realm. That story is not meant to encourage last-minute fixes. It's meant to remind us of the power of a single seed. A single action, done with the right heart, can echo across lifetimes. So start planting now. Choose honesty when it's inconvenient. Choose compassion when it's hard. Choose restraint when it's easier to indulge. Every time you do, you're crafting your next life, not in fantasy, but in karmic law. And if this idea of rebirth still feels distant or strange, think of it this way: your next life could also be the next version of yourself tomorrow. The person who wakes up after a night of regret is not the same as the one who wakes up with peace. So rebirth is not only cosmic, it's cellular, it's daily, it's the rebirth of your habits, your emotions, your state of mind. Right action ensures that the next version of you, whether in this body or the next, is lighter, wiser, freer. That's the path. That's the offering of the Dharma. So live today as if your next life depends on it, because it does. And remember, it's not about fear. It's about empowerment. You are not helpless in the face of fate. You are the artist of your becoming. And every brushstroke of right action adds beauty to the masterpiece of your soul's journey. Let that truth give you strength. Let it guide your choices. And let it remind you, your next life begins now. In the past few parts, we've explored the profound teachings of the Buddha about karma, rebirth, and right action. We've reflected on how every choice we make has consequences, not just in this life but in the next. But for many of us living in the modern world, a natural question arises. How do I live by right action in the real world, in a life full of noise, pressure, distractions, and responsibilities? The Buddha didn't live in a vacuum. He taught in villages, among kings and beggars, mothers and merchants, warriors and monks. His teachings were always practical, grounded, and compassionate. They were not meant only for those in monasteries. They were meant for you. For ordinary people. For modern people. For people with busy lives and complicated emotions. Let's begin with something simple. Think about your typical day. You wake up, check your phone, rush to work, respond to dozens of emails, make decisions, answer questions, deal with coworkers or clients, come home tired, try to rest, maybe numb out with a screen. Where is there room for right action in all that? The answer is everywhere. Right action isn't something you do only when you're calm, or on a retreat, or in meditation. It's something you practice right in the middle of your day. Not in some perfect version of life, but in this one, messy, noisy, unpredictable. Let's break it down. You're in traffic. Someone cuts you off. You feel anger rise. That moment is your training. Do you react with rage? Or pause and breathe? That's a karmic choice. You're in a meeting. A coworker takes credit for your work. Your ego wants to fight back. But your wisdom pauses. You choose dignity over drama. That's right action. You're exhausted at home. Your child asks for attention. You want to say, "Not now." But you turn to them, soften, and offer your full presence. That's right action. None of this is flashy. None of it earns awards. But these are the moments that define your inner world. That build your karma. That shape your next becoming. Let's be honest. The modern world doesn't reward stillness, kindness, or integrity. It rewards speed, cleverness, and winning. But the Buddha wasn't concerned with what the world rewards. He was concerned with what brings true peace. And that kind of peace doesn't come from success or approval. It comes from congruence, from knowing that your actions match your deepest values. Right action in modern life begins with awareness. That means slowing down enough to notice your own patterns. It means catching yourself before you speak with sarcasm, before you lie to make things easier, before you take something that wasn't truly offered. It means asking, who am I becoming through this action? It also means setting intentional boundaries. Maybe you're in a job where you're expected to bend the truth, or a culture where gossip is the norm, or a family where anger is used as control. Living by right action doesn't mean judging others, but it does mean protecting your mind, choosing not to participate, choosing to model a different way. And that takes courage. Sometimes right action means standing up. Sometimes it means staying silent. Sometimes it means walking away. Each moment is different. That's why the Buddha didn't give rigid rules. He gave guidelines, and he taught us to look deeply, to see clearly, to act wisely. But here's the challenge. In a fast-paced society, we often act on autopilot. We say things we don't mean. We do things that aren't in alignment. And then we wonder why we feel anxious, disconnected, empty. The solution is not to be perfect. It's to be present. When you're present, you remember. You remember that this breath matters. This choice matters. This is the moment when karma is created. And from that remembering, wisdom arises. Right action doesn't always look like heroism. Sometimes it looks like choosing not to complain, or putting your phone down, or smiling at a stranger, or resisting the urge to prove someone wrong. And yet, these small acts create a powerful ripple. They soften your mind. They open your heart. They make you easier to live with, both for others and for yourself. Let's take a deeper example. Say you're in a romantic relationship. There's tension. You feel triggered. Your partner says something harsh. Your old pattern is to attack, defend, withdraw. But now you're practicing. You breathe. You feel the anger. But instead of lashing out, you ask, what's happening in me right now? You name it. You stay grounded. You speak your truth gently. That is a radical act of right action. And it doesn't just help your relationship. It helps your karma. You are breaking a cycle that could have kept spinning for lifetimes. You are choosing a different future. This is the beauty of the path. You don't have to change your life overnight. You change the quality of your next moment. And then the next. And the next. That's how the wheel of suffering slows down. That's how peace begins. Now, let's address something that often comes up. Many people think, I'm just one person. What difference can I really make? Or, the world is so broken. Why should I bother? The Buddha faced the same questions. And his answer was clear. You can't fix the whole world. But you are responsible for your corner of it. And that begins with your own actions. If you bring kindness into a room, the room shifts. If you choose integrity in a dishonest system, that system gets disturbed. If you live by right action, your life becomes a teaching without saying a word. And that's how the Dharma spreads. Not just through books or sermons, but through embodied example, through how we treat our families, our neighbors, our strangers. And yes, sometimes right action means taking care of yourself. In this culture, burnout is glorified, hustle is normalized, but the Buddha taught balance. He spoke of the middle way, not indulgence, not denial, but harmony. So right action may mean resting when you're exhausted, saying no when you're stretched thin, eating with mindfulness, sleeping enough, laughing, crying, living with sincerity. Because you matter. Your well-being matters. And your clarity affects everyone you touch. Let's not forget, every spiritual giant began with small actions. The Buddha himself didn't start as enlightened. He began by noticing suffering, questioning deeply, and taking one step after another. That's your path too, step by step. breath by breath. You don't need to be a monk. You don't need to renounce the world. You need to bring the Dharma into your world, into your job, into your parenting, into your shopping, into your arguing, into your listening. That's where transformation happens. So the next time you're faced with a choice, pause and ask, does this action bring me closer to peace or further from it? Is it rooted in love or in fear? Will I be proud of this choice at the end of my life, or regret it? Let these questions be your compass, not as burdens, but as guides, not as rules, but as invitations. Because your life is not just a series of events, it's a sacred unfolding, and you, through your actions, are shaping the future, not just for yourself, but for everyone your life touches. Let that responsibility be joyful. Let it wake you up. Let it remind you that your next life begins not in some far-off place, but in the courage it takes to live well, right here, right now. If you've been following this far, you already know that the path of right action isn't just about outer behavior. It's about the quality of the mind behind the action. It's not just about doing good things. It's about being awake as you do them. And this is where mindfulness becomes not just helpful, but essential. Mindfulness, sati in Pali, is the practice of remembering to be present. It's not some mystical state you achieve after years of training. It's the very real ability to be here, fully, without drifting into habit or distraction. It's knowing what you're doing while you're doing it, and knowing why you're doing it. It's the seed of every wise action. In the modern world, we're taught to live from the neck up, thinking, analyzing, planning, reacting. Rarely are we encouraged to drop into the present moment, to listen to the body, to watch the breath, to observe our thoughts without being swept away. But mindfulness gives us back our freedom to choose. Without mindfulness, we live in reactivity. Someone offends us, we lash out. Desire arises, we chase it. Fear shows up, we hide or attack. This is the automatic cycle that builds karma unconsciously. It's like rolling a snowball downhill. It picks up speed, and suddenly it's no longer you who is acting, but your conditioning. But with mindfulness, we slow the snowball. We step out of autopilot. We see the impulse arise, but we don't have to act on it. That pause, that sacred gap between stimulus and response, is where transformation happens. In that space, the old karma can stop, and new karma, rooted in wisdom, can begin. Let's make this concrete. You're walking into a difficult conversation. Your stomach tightens. Your heart beats faster. Normally, you'd speak before thinking, but now, you pause. You feel the sensations. You breathe. You notice the anger bubbling up, but instead of feeding it, you name it. This is anger. Just that. Naming, observing, and then you ask, what's really needed here? That moment, that breath, is a doorway. A doorway to right action. A doorway to a better future. Or imagine this. You're eating dinner, but your mind is replaying the past, worrying about the future. You don't even taste the food. You're not really there. But now, you remember. You put the fork down. You take one conscious breath. You feel the warmth of the food, the nourishment. Suddenly, you're not rushing, you're receiving. That is right action, too, because you're no longer living in illusion. You're living in reality. The Buddha once said, mindfulness is the path to the deathless. Heedlessness is the path to death. In other words, when you live unconsciously, you die a little each day, disconnected, reactive, asleep. But when you live mindfully, you come alive. You see the impermanence of each moment. You stop clinging. You start choosing. And when you choose from mindfulness, your actions carry a different energy, a different weight, a different future. This is where mindfulness and karma intersect in the most powerful way. Karma isn't just shaped by what you do, it's shaped by how you do it. The same action, offering food, speaking truth, even just walking, can be wholesome or unwholesome depending on your awareness. A smile given mindlessly is different from a smile offered with full presence. A word spoken in reaction is different from one offered after reflection. Even a breath taken with gratitude becomes part of your spiritual path. This is why the Buddha taught mindfulness not as an add-on, but as the foundation. Mindfulness of body, mindfulness of feelings, mindfulness of thoughts, mindfulness of mental states. Because once you see clearly what's happening inside, you no longer have to be ruled by it. Mindfulness gives you back the authorship of your life. But let's be honest, mindfulness is simple. Not easy. It's not a constant state. It's a returning, a remembering, a beginning again. And that's okay. In fact, that is the practice. Every time you notice you've drifted and come back to the breath, that's a moment of right action. Every time you choose to pause instead of push, to listen instead of speak, to feel instead of numb, that is a step toward awakening. So how do we develop this kind of mindfulness in daily life? You don't have to go to a cave. You don't have to sit for hours. You start right where you are. Start with the breath. The Buddha called it a tether to the present. You carry it everywhere. Notice it when you wake up. Feel it before you speak. Return to it when you're angry or anxious. Let it become a friend, a refuge. Bring mindfulness to movement. When you walk, walk with awareness. When you reach for something, feel your hand move. When you drive, notice the contact between your body and the seat. These small shifts ground you in your body, the only place where transformation can happen. Bring it to speech. Before you speak, ask, is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? These questions act like filters for right action. They slow down the impulse to react and invite you to respond. Bring it to eating. Eat slowly, without distractions. Taste every bite, not for the sake of control, but for the sake of presence. And most importantly, bring mindfulness to the moments that challenge you. When you're hurt, don't rush to fix it. Feel it. When you're craving, don't immediately indulge. Watch it. When you're confused, don't pretend certainty. Sit with it. These are not weaknesses. These are gateways to insight. And when you begin to live this way, something shifts. You begin to trust yourself. You begin to walk with integrity. Not just morally, but energetically. Your presence becomes medicine, not only for you, but for others. The people around you may not be able to name it, but they will feel it. They'll feel your groundedness, your calm, your kindness that doesn't need applause, your truth that doesn't need defense. And this is how the Dharma enters the world. Through your body, through your tone, through your decisions. You become the teaching, not just the student. And that's where the deeper meaning of your next life begins now truly reveals itself. It's not just about preparing for some distant rebirth. It's about this very moment, this breath, this choice. Because every moment lived mindfully is a kind of rebirth. A moment when the past loses its grip. A moment when you stop reacting from old patterns and start acting from clarity and care. You wake up, again and again, and in that waking, you realize something beautiful. You don't have to wait for another life to begin living wisely. You don't have to wait for perfection to take the next step. You don't have to fix everything before you can offer peace. You just have to be here. And choose. Now. The breath you're taking. The words you're about to speak. The gesture you're making with your hands. These are the threads of karma. These are the seeds of your next becoming. So pause. Come back. Breathe. And walk on. Not as someone chasing enlightenment, but as someone remembering who they truly are. This is the power of mindfulness. This is the foundation of right action. And this is how your next life begins, now. If you've made it to this final part of our journey together, pause for just a moment. Feel your breath. Feel your body. Feel the quiet place inside you that has been listening not just with ears, but with heart. Something in you already knows. Your next life is not a future event, it's unfolding now. Breath by breath, choice by choice, Throughout this teaching, we've explored the essential role of right action. We've looked at karma not as punishment or reward, but as momentum, energy, the echo of cause and effect. We've seen how every thought, word, and deed becomes a seed. Some sprout quickly, others take years, or lifetimes, but none are lost. We've explored how mindful, compassionate actions not only bring peace in this life, but also shape the next. That rebirth isn't just cosmic, it's cellular, it's psychological, it's spiritual. It happens in each moment we choose differently. Each moment we turn inward, instead of outward. Each moment we remember, instead of react. The Buddha's teaching is not a theory, it's an invitation. A call to live deeply. To wake up from the trance of habit, fear, and distraction. To become someone who no longer harms, who no longer forgets, who no longer delays what truly matters. You don't have to wait for a better life. You create it by how you treat your body, how you speak to others, how you meet discomfort, how you spend your days. But perhaps the deepest realization is this: when you live with right action, you're not just improving your life, you're healing your lineage. You're breaking cycles that began generations ago. You're watering seeds that will bloom long after you're gone. This is why your presence matters. Your honesty matters. Your forgiveness matters. Your patience matters. Because none of it stops with you. What you do today may become the peace someone else touches tomorrow. What you release today may become the freedom your future self inherits. What you purify today may become the light that guides someone else through the dark. So let's pause here, not to end, but to begin again. Ask yourself, with gentle honesty, what am I still carrying that no longer serves me? What story? What guilt? What habit? What would it look like to let it go, not someday, but now? Right action isn't about being good. It's about being true. It's about aligning your outer life with your inner knowing. It's about living in such a way that, if today were your last, you could smile. Because in many ways, it is your last. You will never live this day again. You will never be this version of yourself again. So why not live as if it matters? Let go of the idea that transformation has to be dramatic. Some of the most powerful karma comes from the quietest choices. The kind gesture when no one's looking. The apology you never thought you'd offer. The silence instead of shouting. The act of compassion for a stranger who will never repay you. These are holy moments. These are the footsteps that walk you out of the wheel of suffering. And if you feel overwhelmed, start with one breath. One breath where you pause. One breath where you forgive. One breath where you simply feel the miracle of being alive. This breath is the bridge. This breath is the birthplace of your next life. Many people ask, how can I stay committed to this path? The answer is simple, but not always easy. Remember. Remember that every action matters. Remember that you are a creator. Remember that you are not separate from life. You are part of its unfolding. But more than anything, remember that your awakening serves all beings. When you choose right action, you don't just shift your karma. You create a field of peace that others can rest in. You become a safe place. A true place. A place where others feel seen, known, and loved. That is the greatest offering. That is the greatest prayer. And the path of right action becomes not just a practice, but a sacred vow. A vow to walk gently, to speak truthfully, to live fearlessly, to meet life with eyes open and heart ready. You may stumble, you may forget, but you can always begin again. Each time you return to presence, to kindness, to truth, you are reborn. You are no longer a prisoner of your past. You are a student of the moment, a servant of compassion, a warrior of peace. So take this teaching not just as information, but as transformation. Take it into your morning routine, into your relationships, into your grief, into your joy. Let it soften the edges of your life. Let it dissolve what no longer serves you. Let it invite you into the miracle of now. And if the mind feels restless, if the heart feels heavy, then sit quietly and offer one simple phrase, Namo Amitabha. Or if you prefer, Bado Bado Bado. These sacred names are not just sounds. They are vibrations of awakening. Every time you speak them with sincerity, they align your energy with lifetimes of compassion. They clear the mind. They calm the breath. They remind the soul. You don't need to believe anything. Just try. Sit. Breathe. Whisper the name. Let it echo through your body. Let it carry you from this life into the next with grace. And remember this, always. No matter how far you feel, the path is never lost. No matter how dark the world seems, the Dharma still shines. No matter what you've done, you can begin again, right now. Because your next life doesn't begin after death. It begins the moment you say yes to truth. Yes to presence. Yes to love. Yes to right action. So breathe and begin again. Namo Amitabha. May you walk in peace. May you live with clarity. May you die without regret. And may your next life, beginning now, be filled with wisdom, compassion, and awakening. If this message has touched something deep in your heart, if it's helped you breathe a little easier, see a little clearer, or simply remember what matters, consider subscribing. Not just to stay connected, but to keep walking this path together. Each video is a quiet offering, meant to nourish your mind, steady your heart, and remind you, you're not alone. So take a moment, if it feels right, and click subscribe. And if you know someone who might need this teaching today, feel free to share it. May your path be peaceful. May your heart be light. And may we meet again, in this life or the next.